Everyone, this is Colin Schwartz, the Director of Government Affairs at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Thank you for joining today's webinar to launch our Healthy School Lunches campaign. So just a little background about the Physicians Committee. We represent over 12,000 physicians and other healthcare professionals across the country who are concerned about nutrition, specifically plant-based nutrition. I'm not sure if all of you have had the chance to see recently USDA actually released a report of the lack of meeting the dietary guidelines for fruit and vegetable consumption among kids. And that's sort of the impetus for our campaign. Our work on Healthy School Lunches, we have a Golden Carrot Award that we award schools that are going above and beyond by offering plant-based options to kids each and every day. And we also work with schools across the country through pilot programs to work with food service directors in the cafeterias on how they can offer a daily plant-based entree to kids. And of course, we offer a whole host of online and print resources. And again, you can go to our website at healthysschoollunches.org. So our campaign goals is to focus primarily on introducing resolutions. I'm sure many of you know about the Meatless Monday campaign, which is all about introducing state and local resolutions in schools to encourage them to adopt Meatless Mondays. And that's essentially what our Healthy School Lunches campaign is all about as well. So our resolution, which I will refer you later to a sample resolution that you can look at yourself, is to increase plant-based lunch entrees in school lunch daily. And there are actually currently 4 states that already have resolutions passed through their state legislature. California, Florida, Hawaii, and New York have already passed resolutions. And so we're hoping that with your help across the country and building your grassroots advocacy or meeting you with your existing relationships with state and local elected officials, that we can double that. And so we're hoping that this time next year, by the end of 2015, so by 2016, we can have at least 8 states have passed Healthy School Lunches resolutions to encourage schools in those states to offer daily plant-based lunch entrees. So you all know what's at stake. I won't go through the statistics, but if we're ever going to have meaningful reform through either the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act, through the National School Lunch Program that reaches over 30 million low-income kids every day who rely on school breakfast and school lunch to get majority of their calories and nutrients, we have to start at the local level to get schools to increase the demand for plant-based foods so that we ultimately can change our policies to be able to pay for and source these foods. If we don't act now, we already are seeing that children born after 2000, 1 out of 3 will develop type 2 diabetes, which, as you know, used to be an adult onset chronic condition, and now it is no longer because we see adolescents and kids developing type 2 diabetes at a very young age. So how we see this resolution will help is essentially encouraging schools to meet the nutritional recommendations under the dietary guidelines for fruit and vegetable, whole grain, and bean consumption. And of course, as we know, you instill healthier eating habits at a young age that will last a lifetime. And we of course see that schools that go above and beyond the federal standards to champion healthier eating for their students who participate in the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs boost their academic performance, they lower their BMI, and they hopefully will instill healthy eating habits that will last not only before and after school and in the home, but for a lifetime. So just some details about the resolution. The resolution is threefold. It first and foremost encourages schools to offer a daily plant-based lunch entree as an option to the current menu that schools can choose. It also encourages schools to offer non-dairy alternatives to milk, and there are school-grade equivalents that schools can purchase and be reimbursed for. So for kids who are lactose intolerant or have a lactose sensitivity or for various reasons don't want to eat dairy, to increase the consumption that we know of more healthful alternatives than to dairy milk. And it also encourages schools to promote nutrition education through materials and instruction about healthful plant-based eating options, so that it's not just enough to offer the food, but also teach these kids about the link between diet and disease and healthier eating. And just a bit more background of sort of how this fits into the changing landscapes. I'm sure you've all sort of seen the controversy of school lunch in the news. We are seeing more and more studies coming out that changes in the school lunch program that gradually will change the food over time to hopefully instill healthier eating habits and healthful food options, does not contribute to plate waste, and that kids actually will eat their fruits and vegetables. So there's a 2014 Harvard study that was released earlier this year that we know that if we encourage schools to move in this direction, kids will actually do the same, and they won't just not eat their plant-based lunch entrees. And it, of course, complements other efforts currently going on. So you've heard of the nutrition standards, sort of the lowering of the sodium, the increasing the whole grain, the requirement that a fruit or vegetable be included in lunch. There is also the commodity side of things that USDA provides, that they've offered more options for plant-based foods. There's the Department of Defense, DoD's FRESH program that also provides locally sourced and fresh fruits and vegetables to schools. And then, of course, the First Lady's initiative for Let's Move, but Let's Move salad bars to schools that has reached thousands of schools across the country to increase salad bars. And then finally, just as you all know, resolutions do work. So we have seen that through Meatless Mondays campaign, if you introduce a resolution at a school district or at the county level or city level or even the state, that schools will also move in this direction. It's sort of an extra push for them. Just to go over sort of what the resolution is and is not, and later on I'll direct you to more materials that will help answer any questions that you may have. A resolution, of course, is non-binding. We can't force schools to do this. We can only encourage them. But the plus side of that is that it's flexible, so it's more pragmatic and realistic, that schools will have more time to implement plant-based meal options so that they can work with the appetites, the local and state tastes for food, that you can get food service and director and staff buy-in over time, school administrator, principal buy-in over time. So this is sort of a resolution to encourage schools to move in this direction that is the most realistic that we can do. It's not, of course, mandatory, and there's no cost associated with the resolution other than, of course, implementation, but that's up to the school. And it doesn't replace other meals, so it's to encourage options that if we ever actually want to get to the place that other schools are currently moving to replace the chicken nuggets and replace the cheesy, greasy pizza, replace the hot dogs, to only offer plant-based options, you have to start somewhere. And working with schools that want to actually have a salad bar and have a burrito bowl and pasta dish is a start to get us then to where that school could move to replace those other unhealthy options. So there are really just 3 easy steps for the campaign. The first is identifying with your state and local elected officials whom you think will be good targets for introducing this resolution. Then, of course, it's introducing the resolution and seeing how much support you can get from the community and other elected officials, and then ultimately passing the resolution so that then you can go to schools and work with patients. So the next step is, once you've identified these decision makers, to, of course, meet with them and gauge their interest on introducing a Healthy School Lunches resolution. And of course, we put in there that note elections next month, because November 4th is right around the corner, and while many of these folks will remain in office, you never know. But of course, after the elections, it's always a good time. Both now, tomorrow also is Food Day. A lot of your elected officials will be at town halls and public meetings and want to hear from you, of course, in this time of wanting to get your vote. And then right after elections, we'll want to meet with their constituents to hear about what their priorities should be for the beginning of their term or their second or third term. And we have a toolkit that you can go to healthysschoollunches.org/toolkit, and we have all of the materials you'll need to prepare for your visit. So sort of a 101 of how do you meet with your elected official and what does the meeting request look like, which you would be doing through email. We have a talking points and frequently asked questions for you. We have a document that shows public health support from prominent medical and public health organizations for plant-based meals, consumption for kids. We have a sample sign-on letter so that you can get community support, and of course the sample resolution that you'll give the elected official and a sample thank you after your meeting. You of course can do group meetings. You don't have to meet with your elected official by yourself. And once you've identified your decision maker and you're willing to meet with him or her, we will help you along the way to also set up the meeting and can potentially even phone in on the meeting to be part of the meeting with you, which we do all the time with our members here at the Physicians Committee. And then we'll follow up with you to make sure that your decision maker is right on progress to introduce this resolution for our community. Of course, once you introduce the resolution, and you'll see the model resolution on our website at /toolkit, you'll have to finalize the resolution, so you'll want to put in sort of state or local specific information that makes most sense for your school or your town, city, state. You'll work with your elected official on which provisions they're most comfortable with. So you'll see that even though we have a model resolution, that across the country there will be some variability in what we'll actually say, as long as at the end of the day it has those three key components, which is, again, encouraging schools to offer an optional plant-based lunch entree, healthful alternatives to dairy milk, such as school-grade soy milk, and nutrition education and instruction for kids for plant-based eating. When you actually have identified a decision maker and your decision maker says, yes, I will actually introduce this resolution, you'll have to consider session days, so the legislative days of your, whether it's your state legislature or your school board or city council, to determine when you're going to introduce. And we have important dates that are currently happening just this month. And again, tomorrow's Food Day, which is always sort of a good awareness day that a lot of constituents and grassroots folks such as yourself come out and meet with their officials, talk about the importance of healthful eating. We have a list of important dates that you can find also on our toolkit webpage. And you'll want to increase public support. You'll want to go to other organizations to ask them to endorse this resolution, and you'll want to engage with the media, and we can help you along the way with those stages and ultimately pass this resolution. In addition to the campaign, you can also petition your school. So while you're working with an elected official to introduce a resolution, you yourself, if you already know a principal or a food service director, or your kid is participating in the school lunch program, you can already canvass and ask for local community support to have people sign a petition with you when you meet with your food service director or principal, just to also ask that individual school to move. And of course, this is also beneficial for the campaign. In addition to introducing resolutions that will encourage all schools within your state to move in this direction, it's always helpful to have more schools that are already doing this to show that this can be done. So just finally, just some logistics and information. What you can do right now after this webinar, you can identify your decision maker, which you've already done through our poll, and set up a meeting to introduce this healthy school lunches resolution, which you can use our materials, again, at our toolkit webpage at healthysschoollunches.org/toolkit, and then send us an email update to let us know of your progress at legislative@pcrm.org. If you need additional resources, you can go to healthysschoollunches.org. This webinar also will be recorded and posted, and we will share this out with folks. And we'll have future conference calls planned with advocates across the country so that we can track your progress and work with you on getting this resolution introduced. And finally, you can always contact me again. This is Colin Schwartz. I'm our Director of Government Affairs at the Physicians Committee. You can contact me at legislative@pcrm.org. So with that, we'll gladly take some questions. And I already have some questions coming in through the Q&A. The question is, are there any recommendations for where I can find contact information for my local representatives? And that's a great question. It's very easy to honestly do a Google search for just your state legislature. So say you're in New Jersey and you just search New Jersey State Legislature, it'll come up with a website that will list all of your state representatives. You might have more than one, and state senators, you might have more than one depending on the state that you live in, and that will list all your contact information. But we're happy to work with you on that. So if you have trouble contacting your elected official or getting his or her information, you can just contact us at legislativeprogram.org. All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending today's kickoff webinar for our Healthy School Lunches campaign. Again, this webinar will be recorded and posted. To find out more information, you can go to healthyschoollunches.org. For our toolkit information, you can go to healthyschoollunches.org/toolkit. And if you have any concerns or questions, you can email us at legislative@pcrm.org. So once again, this is Colin Schwartz from the Physicians Committee, and thank you for attending our webinar. We look forward to working with you in the future.